Admiral Vextar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the small blue planet grow larger on the main screen. His four arms moved across the control panels with practiced ease, while his three eyes focused on the tactical display. The planet. Earth looked peaceful and quiet from this distance, but Vexatar knew better than to trust appearances. Every world the galactic hegemony had conquered in the past 3,000 years had looked peaceful at first. The Third Fleet spread out behind his ship in perfect formation. 300 vessels of various sizes filled the dark space around. The outer edges of this solar system. Each ship carried the mark of the hegemony and the authority to bring another world under their control. Vextar had done this 47 times before and expected this conquest to be just as simple as all the others. His communications officer turned toward him with a puzzled expression. The young Veltari's crystalline skin flickered with confusion as she spoke. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the inner system." "Put it through," Vexatar commanded, while settling his large frame into the command chair. The main screen changed to show a human face. The creature had only 2 eyes and strange hair, covering the top of its head. When it spoke, the universal translator made its words clear to everyone on the bridge. "This is Commander Han Wu of the Earth Defense Fleet. You have entered our solar system without permission. State your business, or leave immediately." Several officers on the bridge made sounds that could have been laughter if they had come from different species. Vextar himself felt amused by the boldness of this small creature. The humans showed no fear, even though scanners indicated their ships were primitive and few in number. "I am Admiral Vextar of the Galactic Hegemony Third Fleet. Your world will surrender unconditionally or face destruction. You have 1 rotation to comply." The human's face remained calm. "We reject your demands. Earth will not surrender to anyone." The transmission ended and Vexatar turned to his tactical officer. "How many ships do they have?" "Scans show approximately 50 vessels, Admiral. Most appear to be converted civilian craft with basic weapons. Their largest ship is only half the size of our smallest destroyer." Vextar nodded. This would be even easier than he had thought. The humans clearly had no idea what they were facing. Their tiny fleet would be swept aside like dust in a solar wind. Commander Han Wu stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the alien fleet approach. The Boss converted mining ship served as his flagship, though it had never been designed for space combat. Like most of the Earth Defense Fleet, it had been quickly modified with whatever weapons and armor they could manage in the short time since first contact with alien civilizations. Captain Li Jin report, Han Wu said to his second-in-command Li. Jin checked her displays before responding. "All 50 ships are in position, Commander. The mining ships are ready with their drilling equipment, and the cargo haulers have their magnetic grapples armed. Engineering teams have loaded every available explosive into our torpedo tubes." Han Wu smiled grimly. The Earth Defense Fleet looked pathetic compared to the approaching alien armada, but appearances could be deceiving. Humanity had learned many lessons from centuries of warfare on Earth, and those lessons would serve them well in space. "Open a channel to all ships," Han Wu ordered. When the communications were established, he spoke clearly to his captains. "This is our moment. We are outnumbered 6-1, but we have advantages they cannot understand. We know how to fight dirty, and we know how to fight smart. Remember your training, and remember what we are protecting. Earth depends on us." The alien fleet moved into the outer system in a traditional battle formation. Their ships advanced in neat rows, with the largest vessels in the center and smaller craft protecting the flanks. It was a formation designed to maximize firepower and minimize losses against an enemy that fought according to established galactic warfare protocols. Unfortunately for Admiral Vextar, humans had never read those protocols. The first sign that something was wrong came when the human ships scattered in all directions instead of forming a defensive line. Vextar watched in confusion as the tiny Earth vessels spread throughout the asteroid belt and disappeared among the floating rocks. "What are they doing?" he demanded. His tactical officer studied the readings carefully. "Unknown, Admiral. They appear to be hiding among the asteroids, but that makes no tactical sense. They cannot hope to ambush our fleet with such primitive vessels." Vextar was about to order his ships forward when explosions began appearing throughout his formation. The asteroids that his sensors had dismissed as natural debris were revealing themselves to be something far more dangerous. Hidden among the rocks were human mining charges placed by the Earth ships during their seemingly random movements. Evasive. "Maneuvers!" Vextar shouted, but it was too late for many of his vessels. The asteroid field had become a minefield, and his ships were sailing directly into it. Worse yet, the human vessels were using the confusion to launch attacks from unexpected angles. The converted mining ships used their industrial drilling equipment as weapons, while the cargo haulers employed their magnetic grapples to tear armor plating from alien hulls. Captain Li Jin guided her ship through the chaos with skill that would have impressed any Earth Navy veteran. The Soul's Pride moved like a fighter instead of the converted ore hauler it had once been. Her crew had trained for months to fight in 3 dimensions, using tactics borrowed from submarine warfare and aerial combat. "Target the flagship." Li Jin ordered her weapons officer. The modified mining laser struck the alien command ship's bridge section with devastating effect. The industrial cutting beam had been designed to slice through solid rock and alien armor, provided little resistance. Vexitar's flagship shuddered under the assault as critical systems failed throughout the massive vessel. On his bridge, Vextar felt fear for the first time in decades. His perfect formation had dissolved into chaos, and his superior numbers meant nothing when his ships could not bring their weapons to bear effectively. The humans fought like no enemy he had ever encountered, using their environment as a weapon, and turning every piece of space debris into a potential threat. "All ships retreat to minimum safe distance," he commanded, but the human fleet was not content to let the aliens withdraw safely. Commander Han Wu had studied every battle in human history and knew that a retreating enemy was most vulnerable to pursuit. The Earth ships emerged from the asteroid field like hunting wolves, chasing wounded prey. The battle that followed lasted 6 hours and ended with the complete destruction of the Hegemony Third Fleet. Only 12 alien vessels managed to escape the solar system, and those were badly damaged. Admiral Vexitar was not among the survivors. His flagship had been torn apart by multiple mining lasers, and his body drifted in space along with the wreckage of his once proud armada. Commander Han Wu stood in the wreckage of his own bridge, watching the last enemy ships flee toward deep space. The Soul's Pride had taken heavy damage, but she was still intact. Around him, his crew worked to repair critical systems while medics tended to the wounded. "Casualty report," he requested. 15 ships lost commander. 230 personnel. Killed in action. But we won. Han Wu nodded slowly. The price had been high, but Earth remained free. More importantly, they had sent a message to the galaxy that humanity would not go quietly into subjugation. Whatever came next, they had proven that humans could fight and win against impossible odds. In the weeks that followed, the surviving alien ships spread word of the disaster throughout hegemony space. The story seemed impossible to most who heard. A single primitive world had destroyed an entire fleet using converted civilian vessels and improvised tactics. Many dismissed the reports as exaggeration or outright lies, but those who had witnessed the battle knew the truth. Humanity had announced its presence on the galactic stage in the most dramatic way possible. The question now was how the hegemony would respond to this unprecedented defeat, and whether Earth could survive what came next. High Counselor Zevthak slammed his fist against the council chamber table with enough force to crack the ancient stone surface. The other representatives of the galactic hegemony sat in stunned silence as they processed the reports from the Sol system. 300 ships destroyed by 50 primitive vessels seemed impossible, but the evidence was undeniable. "This cannot be accurate," Zevthak growled through his translator. His massive reptilian form towered over the other council members as his anger grew. "No single world has ever resisted the hegemony successfully. These humans must have received outside assistance." The crystalline representative of the Veltari species flickered with nervous energy. "Our analysis of the debris indicates no foreign technology, High Counselor. The humans used modified civilian equipment and improvised weapons. They simply fought in ways we did not anticipate." The insectoid queen of the Kren hive clicked her mandibles in what passed for speech among her kind. "The tactical recordings show unprecedented aggression and unpredictable behavior. These humans do not follow established warfare protocols. They appear to value individual initiative over collective strategy." Zevthak turned toward the energy being that represented the Luxani Confederation. The glowing form pulsed with different colors as it communicated. The humans demonstrated remarkable adaptability. They used their environment as a weapon and treated space itself as their ally. This suggests a level of tactical thinking we have not encountered before. Enough, Zevthak roared. I do not care how they won. What matters is that they must be crushed before other worlds begin to think rebellion is possible. If we allow this defeat to stand unchallenged, the entire hegemony could collapse. The council chamber fell silent as each representative considered the implications. For 3,000 years, their combined fleets had maintained order through overwhelming force. No world had ever successfully resisted conquest, and the destruction of the Third Fleet threatened the foundation of their power. Meanwhile, on Earth, the celebration of victory had quickly given way to frantic preparation for what everyone knew must come next. Admiral Park Soo stood in the newly constructed command center, watching displays that showed ship construction facilities working around the clock. Every shipyard on Earth and throughout the solar system operated at maximum capacity. Dr. Kim Hai, report on our production status, Park Soo requested. The lead scientist adjusted her glasses before consulting her tablet. We have increased ship construction by 400%, Admiral. The asteroid mining facilities are providing raw materials faster than we can process them. Every civilian ship capable of conversion is being modified for combat duty, Park. Sue nodded approvingly. What about new designs? Captain Choi Min has been working with our engineering teams to develop vessels specifically designed for space combat. The new destroyers incorporate everything we learned from the first battle. They are faster, more maneuverable, and carry twice the firepower of our converted mining ships. In the training facilities scattered throughout the solar system, Captain Choi Min pushed new recruits through intensive courses designed to create combat commanders in weeks instead of years. The human approach to military training emphasized adaptability and independent thinking over rigid adherence to doctrine. Remember, Choi Min told a group of newly promoted captains, space combat is three-dimensional. Use that to your advantage. The enemy expects you to fight like they do in neat formations with predictable tactics. Instead, fight like humans. Be unpredictable, be aggressive, and never give them time to recover from your attacks. The intelligence reports from the surviving alien vessels had provided valuable information about hegemony capabilities and organization. Dr. Kim Hai and her team worked frantically to develop countermeasures for known alien weapons while creating new systems that would give Earth forces additional advantages. Their energy shields are designed to stop conventional projectile weapons and energy beams, she explained to a gathering of ship designers. But they have difficulty with rapid frequency changes and sustained close-range attacks. Our new mining laser arrays can shift wavelengths fast enough to penetrate their defenses. Commander Yoon Da had been promoted to replace Han Wu, who had died from injuries sustained in the battle against Vextar's fleet. She now commanded the rebuilt and expanded First Fleet while overseeing the training of additional fleet commanders. The lessons learned from the first engagement were being incorporated into every aspect of Earth's military doctrine. The aliens fight like they expect their enemies to behave according to rules, Yoon Da explained to her staff officers. They use formations designed to counter conventional tactics and weapons optimized for traditional engagements. We must continue to fight in ways they cannot predict or counter effectively. On the frontier worlds of hegemony, space rumors spread about the human victory. Species that had been enslaved for generations began to whisper about the possibility of freedom. The Mordai traders carried stories of the battle throughout their commercial networks while the subjugated Kethran miners passed coded messages through their work gangs. But these stirrings of rebellion only strengthened Zevthak's resolve to crush the humans completely. He ordered the mobilization of the largest military force in galactic history. 15 full fleets representing over 4,000 ships would converge on the Sol system with orders to leave nothing alive. This time there will be no mistakes, he declared to the assembled fleet commanders. The humans will face the full might of the hegemony. Their primitive tactics may have surprised Admiral Vextar, but they will not save them from overwhelming force. The preparation took months as ships were recalled from patrol duties throughout hegemony space. Each of the 7-member species contributed their most powerful vessels to the Armada. Crystal ships of the Veltari sailed alongside the biomechanical craft of the Kren, while energy constructs of the Luxani provided support for the massive battleships of Zevthak's own people. Earth's spy networks detected the military buildup and reported the alarming intelligence to Admiral Park Soo. The approaching force was 20 times larger than the fleet that had been destroyed in the first battle. Even with their improved ships and tactics, the defenders faced impossible odds. "We cannot win a conventional engagement against that many ships," Park Soo admitted during a strategy meeting with his senior officers. "We need to find another way to level the playing field." Dr. Kim Hai had been working on that exact problem. "Our analysis suggests that the enemy fleet will arrive in a single large formation. They expect to overwhelm us with concentrated firepower, but large formations have weaknesses that smaller, more flexible forces can exploit." Captain Choi Min studied the tactical projections carefully. "If we could split their fleet or force them to divide their attention, we might have a chance. But with only one fleet, we cannot be in multiple places at once." Admiral Park Soo smiled grimly. "Who said we only have one fleet?" The secret construction projects had been hidden throughout the outer solar system using techniques learned from Earth's Cold War era. While the aliens gathered their forces, humanity had been building not just ships, but entire fleets in locations where hegemony sensors could not detect them. Commander Yoon Da received the classified briefing with amazement. 10 additional fleets, Admiral. How did we manage to build so many ships without detection?" "The same way we won the first battle," Park Soo replied. "By doing what they do not expect. While they assumed we would rebuild our single fleet, we were actually constructing 11 fleets and hiding them in plain sight among the asteroid mining operations. The hegemony armada finally began its approach to the Sol system, confident in their overwhelming numerical superiority. Fleet Admiral Morthek commanded the massive force from his flagship while maintaining communication with the individual fleet commanders. Their plan was simple and direct: advance in formation, destroy any resistance, and reduce Earth to burning debris. But as they entered the outer system, long-range sensors detected something unexpected. The single human fleet that intelligence reports had described was waiting for them near Earth orbit exactly as predicted. What the sensors did not detect were the 10 additional fleets positioned throughout the solar system in hidden locations that had been prepared months in advance. Commander Yoon Da watched the approaching alien armada from the bridge of her flagship. The first fleet appeared to be humanity's only defense against impossible odds, just as it had been during the first battle. But this time, appearances were even more deceiving than before. "All ships prepare for engagement," she commanded. "Remember the plan. We hold them here until the others are in position." The hegemony fleet advanced with confident determination. Fleet Admiral Morthek had studied the reports from the previous battle and believed he understood human tactics. His formation was designed to prevent the kind of hit-and-run attacks that had destroyed Vexthak's fleet. "These humans will find that their tricks work only once," he declared to his bridge crew. "Today the galaxy will see what happens to those who defy the hegemony." As the two forces closed to weapons range, neither side fully understood what was about to unfold. The aliens believed they were facing a single desperate fleet making a final stand. Fleet Admiral Morthek watched with satisfaction as his massive armada closed distance with the single human fleet defending Earth. The tactical display showed over 4,000 hegemony vessels advancing in perfect formation, while only 50 human ships waited in their path. This time, there would be no asteroids to hide behind and no environmental advantages for the primitives to exploit. "Begin primary bombardment," he commanded. The first wave of energy beams and projectile weapons struck the human defensive line with devastating effect. Several Earth ships exploded immediately, while others suffered critical damage and began to drift helplessly through space. Commander Yoon Da felt her flagship shudder under the alien assault as her crew fought to maintain power to critical systems. "Return fire," she ordered, though she knew their weapons were having minimal effect against the heavily shielded enemy vessels. The battle seemed to follow the script that Morthek had written. His superior numbers and firepower were systematically destroying the human fleet despite their desperate resistance. The aliens had learned from their previous defeat and refused to be drawn into close-range combat where human tactics might prove effective. For 30 minutes, the slaughter continued. The Earth Defense Fleet lost ship after ship while inflicting only minor damage on their enemies. It appeared that humanity's brief moment of military glory was about to end in complete annihilation. Then something impossible happened. The space around the hegemony fleet suddenly filled with new contacts as 10 massive fleets emerged from hidden positions throughout the solar system. Admiral Namgil's second fleet appeared from behind Luna, while Captain Shinbo's third fleet rose from the shadow of Mars. Commander OA's seventh fleet materialized from the asteroid belt as the remaining fleets revealed themselves from locations no alien sensor had detected. Morthek stared at his tactical display in disbelief. Where moments before he had faced 50 primitive ships, he now confronted over 500 modern warships approaching from every direction. The humans had not been preparing a desperate last stand, but rather the largest military ambush in galactic history. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his intelligence officer, Unknown Admiral. "Our scouts reported only one fleet in this system. These additional vessels appeared without warning from positions our sensors showed as empty space." Admiral Namgil opened communications with the trapped hegemony fleet. His voice carried across space with calm authority as he delivered humanity's ultimatum. "Hegemony forces, you are completely surrounded. Surrender immediately or face destruction." Morthek's response came through gritted teeth. "The hegemony does not surrender to primitives. All ships attack the nearest human vessels." The battle that erupted defied every principle of galactic warfare. The human fleets moved with coordinated precision that seemed almost telepathic in its perfection. Captain Shinbo's ships struck the alien formation's left flank, while Commander OA's vessels hammered their right. The remaining fleets attacked from above and below in a three-dimensional assault that no traditional formation could withstand. But it was not just the tactical coordination that shocked the hegemony forces. The human ships themselves had evolved far beyond the converted mining vessels of the first battle. These were purpose-built warships incorporating technology that seemed to bridge the gap between human innovation and alien science. Commander OA watched with professional satisfaction as her flagship's new weapons systems tore through enemy shields like they were made of paper. The adaptive energy cannons analyzed alien defensive frequencies in real time and automatically adjusted their output to maintain maximum effectiveness. It was technology that no single species in the hegemony possessed. "Target their command. Ships," she ordered her weapons officers. "Cut off their coordination and watch the formation collapse." The hegemony fleet began to disintegrate under the sustained assault. Their numerical advantage meant nothing when they could not maneuver effectively or concentrate their firepower. The human ships moved like a pack of predators surrounding a herd, while their weapons struck with surgical precision at critical targets. Captain Shinbo demonstrated the new human innovation of modular ship design as his vessels literally came apart in space before recombining in new configurations. What had appeared to be traditional cruisers suddenly became swarms of fighters that could overwhelm enemy point defenses through sheer numbers and unpredictability. "Their shields cannot track multiple small targets effectively," he reported to Admiral Namgil. "Recommend all fleets switch to swarm configuration." Throughout the human fleet, ships began separating into smaller components that operated with hive mind coordination. The effect was devastating to hegemony forces that had been designed to fight large vessel-to-large vessel engagements. Their massive battleships found themselves surrounded by dozens of fighter-sized craft that struck from every angle simultaneously. Morthek tried desperately to rally his forces, but the situation had moved beyond salvage. His communications were being jammed by human electronic warfare systems, while his ships suffered catastrophic losses with each passing minute. The perfect formation that had seemed invincible now trapped his vessels in a killing zone with no escape route. "All ships retreat to hyperspace immediately," he finally ordered. But the humans had anticipated this move as well. Strange new devices activated throughout the battle space, creating fields that prevented faster-than-light travel. The hegemony fleet was not just surrounded but completely trapped in normal space where human weapons could continue their methodical destruction. Dr. Wang Yu monitored the battle from Earth's command center while analyzing data from the new technologies being field-tested for the first time. The hyperspace interdiction system was working perfectly while the adaptive weapons exceeded all performance expectations. Most importantly, the modular ship design proved that human engineering could create capabilities that alien science had never imagined. Admiral Park Soo, "The field test results are exceeding all projections," she reported. "Our ships are operating at 200% of theoretical efficiency." Park Soo nodded grimly as he watched the tactical display. The hegemony fleet was being systematically destroyed, but he took no pleasure in the slaughter. These were thinking beings with families and homes, even if they served a tyrannical government. "Signal Admiral Nam Gil to offer surrender terms again," he ordered. "Give them one final chance to end this." The second surrender offer went out to what remained of the hegemony fleet. By this time, over half their ships had been destroyed, and the survivors were scattered throughout the battle space in small groups fighting hopeless individual actions. Some alien commanders chose to continue fighting to the death, while others finally accepted the reality of their situation. Commander Yun Da accepted the surrender of a damaged Veltari cruiser, while her medical teams prepared to treat wounded prisoners. The human approach to victory emphasized mercy toward defeated enemies and respect for those who had fought with honor, even in service of an unjust cause. "These are brave warriors," she told her staff as they processed the alien survivors. "They deserve our respect, even though we disagree with their government's policies." The battle officially ended after 6 hours of continuous fighting. The hegemony's greatest armada had been reduced to scattered debris and a few hundred survivors in human custody. Not a single Earth ship had been lost during the engagement, and casualties remained remarkably light, considering the scale of the conflict. Fleet Admiral Morthek was among the survivors pulled from his destroyed flagship. As he sat in a human detention facility, he struggled to understand how his overwhelming advantage had been turned into complete defeat so quickly. The humans had fought with capabilities that seemed to defy the established laws of galactic warfare. "How did you hide so many ships from our sensors?" he finally asked his human interrogator. Captain Li Jin smiled politely as she reviewed the prisoner interview protocols. "The same way we won both battles, Admiral. We did what you did not expect. While your intelligence services watched for military construction, we built our fleets inside asteroid mining operations and civilian shipyards. Your sensors saw exactly what they were programmed to detect, but missed what was actually there." The implications of humanity's victory spread quickly throughout hegemony space as the few escaped vessels carried news of the disaster. 2 complete defeats by the same primitive world had accomplished what 3,000 years of alien warfare had not. The foundation of hegemony power was cracking, and subject species throughout the galaxy began to believe that freedom might actually be possible. On Earth, Admiral Park Sue met with his senior commanders to plan humanity's next move. They had proven their military capabilities beyond any doubt, but the question now was whether to consolidate their defenses or take the fight directly to their enemies. "The hegemony will not accept these defeats," he told the assembled officers. "They will gather every ship and warrior they can find for one final assault on Earth unless we act first." Admiral Nam Gil studied the intelligence reports from interrogated prisoners. "Our analysis suggests that hegemony unity is fracturing. Several member species are questioning their leadership, and some frontier worlds have already declared independence." Admiral Bay-Un stood on the bridge of his flagship as the combined human fleets prepared to leave the Sol system for the first time in Earth's history. The decision to take the war directly to hegemony space had not been made lightly, but the strategic logic was clear. Waiting for the next alien attack would only give their enemies time to recover and adapt. "All fleets report ready for hyperspace transition, Admiral," his communications officer announced. "Take us to the Kethran system," Bay-Un commanded. "It is time to show the galaxy that Earth fights for freedom, not conquest." The hyperspace jump represented more than just military movement. For the first time, human beings were leaving their home system as liberators rather than explorers. Intelligence reports indicated that the Kethran mining colonies had been among the first worlds enslaved by the hegemony, and their freedom would send a powerful message to other oppressed species. Captain Ryu Jin commanded the Fifth Fleet's advance elements as they emerged from hyperspace near the Kethran homeworld. The planet's surface showed the scars of centuries of strip mining, while orbital facilities processed raw materials for shipment throughout hegemony space. Most importantly, the system contained minimal military defenses, since the hegemony had never expected an attack so far from the frontier. "Scanning hegemony forces," his tactical officer reported. 2 patrol squadrons and a supply depot. Estimated 40 vessels total." Ryu Jin smiled grimly. After facing thousands of enemy ships, these numbers seemed almost trivial, but he knew that, Each victory would make the next battle more difficult as word of human capabilities spread throughout alien space. "Signal the hegemony forces to surrender," he ordered. "Offer safe passage to any vessel that leaves the system immediately." The alien response came within minutes. Most of the patrol ships began emergency hyperspace jumps to warn their superiors, while a few stubborn commanders chose to fight hopeless actions. The brief engagement ended with complete human victory and the liberation of the Kethron system. But the real significance came when the human fleet established contact with the enslaved population. The Kethron people had endured generations of brutal oppression under hegemony rule and could barely believe that liberation was actually possible. "We offer you freedom and protection," Captain Ryujin announced to the planetary government. "Join us in fighting for the liberty of all species, or remain neutral if you prefer, but you will never again serve alien masters." Meanwhile, Commander Jang So led the Ninth Fleet in a daring assault on the hegemony's primary shipyards at Veltara Prime. The crystalline homeworld of the Veltari species housed the most advanced construction facilities in known space and provided nearly 30% of the hegemony's military vessels. "Remember the mission parameters," Jang So told her captains. "We destroy military targets only. Civilian facilities and population centers are off limits. We are liberators, not conquerors." The attack on Veltara Prime demonstrated human space warfare at its most sophisticated. Instead of the brute force tactics the aliens expected, the human fleet employed precision strikes that disabled shipyard defenses while leaving civilian infrastructure intact. The message was clear. Earth sought to end hegemony military power, not exterminate entire species. The Veltari defenders fought with desperate courage, but found themselves completely outmatched by human technology and tactics. The modular ship designs that had proven so effective in the Sol system battle allowed the Ninth Fleet to adapt to changing tactical situations faster than any conventional force could manage. "Their construction facilities are neutralized, Commander," her weapons officer reported. "Shipyard output has been reduced to 0. Jang So nodded with satisfaction. "Signal the planetary government. Inform them that the Veltari people are free to choose their own destiny. The hegemony no longer has the power to compel their obedience." Back on Earth, Dr. Wang Yu coordinated the rapid expansion of human technology as her teams reverse-engineered captured alien equipment. Each battle provided new examples of hegemony. Science, while human innovation found ways to improve upon or counter every system they encountered. "The adaptive capabilities are exceeding all projections," she reported to Admiral Park Soo. "Our ships are literally evolving during combat operations. Each engagement makes them more effective against enemy systems." This technological evolution was becoming apparent to hegemony forces throughout the galaxy. Human ships that had been merely superior in the first engagements were now demonstrating capabilities that seemed almost supernatural. Weapons that adapted to any defense and shields that learned from each attack created an enemy that became stronger with every battle. High Counselor Zevthok watched reports of defeat after defeat flood into the council chamber. The systematic destruction of hegemony military power was proceeding faster than anyone had thought possible. Worse yet, the human approach of offering freedom to enslaved species was causing the political collapse of the entire galactic order. "The Mordai Confederation has declared independence," his intelligence chief reported. "The Hive Queen, Kren, is considering switching sides entirely. Even some of our own frontier worlds are requesting negotiations with the humans." Zevthak's rage had moved beyond mere anger into a cold determination to preserve what remained of his power. "Recall all remaining fleets to Hegemony Prime. If we cannot hold the frontier, we will make our final stand at the capital." But the human offensive was not following the predictable patterns of galactic warfare. Instead of advancing toward the enemy capital in a straight line, the Earth fleets were spreading throughout hegemony space like an infection. Each liberated world became a base for further operations, while newly freed species provided intelligence and support. Captain Moon Jae led a joint human and Kethran force in liberating the slave mines of Torgan, while Commander Park Ho worked with Mordai rebels to capture the communication hub at Zephyr Station. The galaxy was learning that humans fought not just as conquerors, but as coalition builders who offered genuine partnership to anyone willing to oppose tyranny. The psychological effect on hegemony forces was devastating. soldiers who had served. The Galactic Order for their entire lives watched as that order collapsed around them. Many chose desertion over fighting for a cause they no longer believed in, while others actively switched sides to join the growing liberation movement. Admiral Bae-un received regular reports of enemy surrenders as entire hegemony fleets abandoned their posts rather than face human forces in battle. The reputation of Earth's military had grown beyond mere fear into something approaching legend among alien populations. "Sir, the Luxani Confederation is requesting direct negotiations," his communications officer reported. "They wish to discuss terms for joining our alliance." Bae-un considered the implications carefully. The Luxani were one of the founding members of the hegemony, and their defection would represent a massive strategic victory. But he also knew that hasty alliances could create future problems if not handled carefully. "Arrange a meeting," he decided. "But make it clear that we seek genuine partners, not convenient allies. Any species that joins us must be committed to the principles of freedom and equality." The transformation of galactic politics was happening faster than anyone had anticipated. What had begun as Earth's desperate defense had evolved into a galaxy-wide revolution against oppression. Species that had been enemies for millennia found themselves united under human leadership in pursuit of a common goal. Dr. Wang Yu's analysis of captured hegemony records revealed the true extent of their empire's weakness. The entire system was held together by fear, Admiral. Once that fear was broken by our victories, the political structure became unsustainable. Admiral Park Soo studied the strategic situation from Earth's command center. Human fleets now operated throughout half the galaxy, while liberation movements spread to systems that had never seen an Earth ship. The momentum was clearly on their side, but he knew that Zevthak would not surrender without one final desperate gamble. "Increase security around all liberated worlds," he ordered his staff. "A cornered enemy is the most dangerous kind. The hegemony will try something desperate before the end." His prediction proved accurate when intelligence reports revealed hegemony forces massing at their capital world. But these were not conventional military units preparing for a final battle. Instead, Zevthak was gathering every weapon of mass destruction in his arsenal for one last attempt to maintain power through terror. They are planning to destroy entire worlds rather than allow them to remain free, the intelligence analyst reported. "The final battle will not be about military victory, but about preventing genocide." Admiral Bae-un received orders to accelerate the advance toward Hegemony Prime. Time was running out, and the fate of billions of innocent beings now depended on how quickly the human fleets could reach the enemy capital before Zevthak could implement his final solution to the rebellion against his rule. Admiral Seo Young commanded the largest fleet in human history as 11 complete battle groups converged on Hegemony Prime. The combined armada represented not just Earth's military might, but also the hopes of dozens of liberated species who had joined the fight for galactic freedom. Kethran mining ships sailed alongside human destroyers, while Mordai scouts provided intelligence, and Veltari crystal ships added their unique capabilities to the assault force. "Final approach to the capital system, Admiral," her navigation officer reported. "Enemy forces detected in defensive positions around the primary world." Seo Young studied the tactical display with growing concern. The hegemony's remaining fleet was indeed positioned to defend their homeworld, but the formation looked wrong somehow. Instead of protecting orbital installations, the alien ships seemed to be threatening them with their own weapons. "Open communications with High Counselor Zevthak," she ordered. The response came immediately on all frequencies. Zevthak's reptilian features filled the main screen as he delivered what he clearly intended to be his final message to the galaxy. "Admiral Seo Young and all who follow her, hear me now. The hegemony has ruled for 3,000 years and will not be destroyed by primitive upstarts and their collection of rebel slaves. If we cannot maintain order, then we will ensure that chaos follows our fall." The transmission switched to show orbital platforms around dozens of worlds throughout the remaining hegemony territory. Each platform was armed with planet-killing weapons, aimed at the civilian populations below. Billions of innocent beings were being held hostage to Zevthak's desperate desire to maintain power. "Withdraw your fleets immediately or watch entire worlds burn," the High Counselor continued. "You have one standard hour to comply." Admiral Seo Young felt the weight of command as she realized that military victory would mean nothing if it came at the cost of genocide. The liberation of the galaxy had succeeded beyond anyone's dreams, but Zevthak was prepared to destroy everything rather than accept defeat. "Options," she requested from her staff captain Moon. Jay studied the intelligence reports from their spy networks throughout hegemony space. "Our analysis suggests that many of the platform crews are not loyal to Zevthak personally. They are following orders but might be convinced to stand down if offered alternative leadership." Commander Lee Tay added her own assessment. "The weapons platforms are controlled from central command centers on each world. If we could coordinate simultaneous strikes, we might be able to disable them before they could fire." SCO Young considered both options carefully. A direct assault would be risky and might not succeed in time to prevent massive casualties, but the alternative of negotiating with a madman seemed equally dangerous. "There is a third option, Admiral," her communications officer announced. "We are receiving messages from several hegemony worlds. Local populations are beginning to revolt against the Doomsday platforms." The reports flooding in from across the galaxy told an incredible story. On world after world, ordinary citizens were rising up against the weapon platforms that threatened their lives. Species that had been enemies for generations were working together to prevent their own destruction at the hands of their supposed protectors. "The revolution is spreading faster than we could have imagined," Captain Moon Jay observed. "Zevthak's threat has backfired completely." On the crystal world of Veltara Prime, the Planetary Defense Force had turned their weapons against the orbital platforms while civilian crowds stormed the command centers. Similar scenes were playing out on Mordai trading stations and Kethran mining colonies as the galaxy rejected Zevthak's final gambit. High Counselor Zevthak watched his empire collapse in real time as reports of rebellion reached his command center. The doomsday weapons that were supposed to ensure his continued rule were being captured or destroyed by the very populations they had been meant to threaten. "All platforms report status," he demanded. His communications officer hesitated before delivering the devastating news. 70% of our installations have been neutralized, High Counselor. Local forces are either destroying the weapons or turning them over to human allied units." Zevthak slammed his fist against the control panel, hard enough to crack the reinforced surface. 3,000 years of hegemony rule were ending not in glorious battle, but in the complete rejection of everything his people had built. Admiral Seo Young received surrender offers from hegemony fleet commanders even before her ships entered weapons range of the capital world. The alien crews had no desire to die for a cause that their own people had abandoned. One by one, the defending vessels powered down their weapons and requested safe passage to neutral territory. "This is Admiral Seo Young to all hegemony forces," she broadcast on all channels. "Lay down your arms and you will be treated with honor. Continue to follow Zevthak's orders and you will share his fate." The final battle for Hegemony Prime lasted less than an hour. The few ships that remained loyal to the High Counselor fought with desperate courage, but were quickly overwhelmed by the combined human and allied fleet. Zevthak's flagship was disabled rather than destroyed, with its crew taken prisoner for eventual trial. Captain Moon Jay led the boarding party that captured the Hegemony Command Center. She found Zevthak sitting alone in his office, staring at displays that showed the complete collapse of his empire. The once mighty ruler of the Galaxy looked smaller somehow as he faced the reality of absolute defeat. "High Counselor Zevthak, you are under arrest for crimes against sentient beings," Moon Jay announced formally. "You will be given a fair trial before a tribunal of the species your government oppressed." Zevthak looked up at his captor with something that might have been respect. How did primitives from a single world accomplish what 3,000 years of galactic warfare could not? Moon Jay considered the question seriously before answering. "We offered something your empire never could, High Counselor. We offered genuine partnership between equals rather than domination by the strong over the weak. The establishment of the new galactic government took place on Earth itself as representatives, from hundreds of worlds gathered to draft a constitution for the Galactic Federation. The document that emerged emphasized individual rights, democratic representation, and peaceful resolution of disputes between species. Admiral Lee Tay was chosen as the first Secretary General of the Federation, not because she was human, but because Her colleagues recognized her wisdom and dedication to justice. The position carried no special privileges and could be held by any sentient being, regardless of their species or world of origin. We gather not as conquerors and conquered, but as equals seeking a better future for all our peoples, she declared at the opening ceremony. The Federation will succeed where the hegemony failed because it serves the needs of its citizens rather than demanding their obedience. Dr. Wang Yu found herself appointed to head the new Galactic Science Council, where her teams work to share human innovations with allied species while learning from their unique capabilities. The rapid technological advancement that had made victory possible continued as cooperation replaced the hegemony's philosophy of suppression and control. Imagine what we can accomplish when every species contributes their best ideas instead of hiding them for competitive advantage, she told her mixed staff of human and alien researchers. The next century will see advancement that would have taken millennia under the old system. The transformation of galactic civilization proceeded rapidly as trade replaced tribute and voluntary cooperation replaced forced compliance. Former hegemony military bases became research stations, while slave worlds evolved into thriving independent colonies. Species that had been enemies for generations discovered that they could work together when freed from artificial constraints. But perhaps the most significant change was philosophical rather than political. The human concept of inherent dignity for all sentient beings spread throughout the galaxy as species learned that strength came from diversity rather than conformity. The Federation grew not through conquest but through the voluntary association of worlds that shared common values. Captain Choi Min established the new Federation Defense Force with the mission of protecting member worlds from external threats, while carefully avoiding the imperial overreach that had corrupted the hegemony. The military existed to serve civilian authority rather than dominate it. "We are guardians, not rulers," he told the first class of Federation officers. "Our duty is to protect the peace, not to impose our will on others." Admiral Seo Young returned to Earth to find a world transformed by its new role as the birthplace of galactic democracy. Visitors from across the galaxy came to study human history and culture, while Earth's universities welcomed students from hundreds of species eager to learn about the civilization that had liberated their worlds. But she also found that humanity itself had been changed by contact with galactic civilization. Earth's people had gained a perspective that came from knowing they were part of something larger than themselves. The isolation that had defined human existence for millennia had given way to genuine membership in a community of worlds. "We set out to defend our home," she reflected during a ceremony honoring those who had died in the liberation wars.